All righty, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 12th of December, 2025. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers fall in overtime by a final score of 3-2 against the Vegas Golden Knights in what was a very tightly contested game. But hockey is a game of mistakes, and a mistake cost the Flyers at least an opportunity at getting 2 points out of the game. They walk away with 1, and Vegas walks away with 2. Oh, tough way for that game to end last night. We'll talk about that. Also in this episode, Flyers goaltending EBUG. What does EBUG mean? Emergency backup goaltender. Justin Kolakowski joins us in this episode to talk about how he became the Flyers EBUG about a decade ago, and also about the experience of a lifetime for a lifetime goaltender to sign an amateur tryout contract with the San Jose Sharks on Tuesday night and back up Nedeljkovic in the Flyers versus San Jose game. A lot of great insight on that process, what it's like to be an EBUG from Justin, who I've known for a long time. We've subbed for each other in beer league for many years, and he's a real good guy, and it's a good story. So I'm a sucker for a good hockey story, and this is a good one. So I think you guys will enjoy. We'll send you the weekend one good hearing this story as a dream, if you will, came true. But as far as last night, it was a nightmare the way the game ended as the Flyers lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. Here's the particulars. Flyers ended up getting outshot in the game 21-19. It was such a tightly contested game, especially in the second half of the game, where there was just no room on the ice for either team. Every inch seemed contested. Now, what do we know about Vegas? They got some talent there, obviously, big-time talent. When you look at a guy like Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner there now, although I'm not even sure if Marner played last night. I thought he was absent from making any plays in the game. Not an impressive performance out of Mitch Marner, who was a point-per-game player coming into this. Mark Stone, showing at 33 years of age, he still got it. And Vegas, tough team, big team, fourth biggest team in the NHL. They occupy a lot of ice. They're very rangy with their sticks, and they don't leave you a lot of room to breathe or operate or do anything. That's what makes them so good. And it was a game last night. It's hung in there as they get outshot 21-19 in the game. The scoring was opened in the first period at the 6:07 mark when it comes from an unlikely source for Vegas, as Zach Whitecloud, the defenseman, picks up his first of the season, first in 55 games, and he takes advantage of a quick rush opportunity that started at just inside the Vegas blue line. Flyers were attacking. It was Dvorak and Konecny coming down the right side. Dvorak tried to feather a little pass just inside the blue line to Konecny on the wall, but the poke check of Noah Hannafin broke up the play, and Hannafin right away got his head up, made a stretch pass up the right side. That got all the way up the ice to Braden Bowman, who then drops it off to Ivan Barbashev, who's coming trailing the play slightly, and Whitecloud, who was actually behind Hannafin in the middle of the ice when the turnover happened, busted it to get up the ice. He's the late man in the trailer, and Barbashev just kind of feathers a little pass to him, and he goes in with a real nice finish on the backhand to beat Dan Vladar and put the Vegas Golden Knights up 1-0. So here we go again. Flyers give up the first goal. What else is new? But they do battle back later in the first period at 16-11. This is, at least at this point in the season, the best playmaking play of the Flyers season and best setup or pass for a goal. The Flyers in the offensive zone are working the cycle, working the forecheck, doing well. Christian Dvorak gets it to Travis Sanheim after both of those players did a good job keeping the puck in the zone when Vegas tried to clear on a couple of occasions. Second chance opportunities. Eventually, Sanheim gets the puck, migrates all the way to the left side of the ice, probably about 2 feet from the boards and about 4 feet above the circle. So way high on the left side. And he wires a pass diagonally all the way across the ice to Trevor Zegras, who's going to the spot. He's not stationary in the spot. It's not a stationary target that Sanheim was passing it to. It was passing it to a place where he thought one of his players would go to. Now, why would he think that? Well, that's because that's what they're being coached to do. The backdoor guy crashing the net. Sanheim throws a perfect pass through about 4 players. Seeing eye, like 3 guys almost stopped the pass, but none of them did. Goes right to Zegras. He one times it, beats Akira Schmidt, and it ties the game. Yeah, Sanheim, it would have been really easy on that left side to throw the puck at the net because he had Owen Tippett net front with a Vegas defender. Travis Konecny high in the slot. So if the shot if he just takes the shot and it gets through to the goalie, there's probably a rebound, or it's a tip from Tippett, or a rebound opportunity for Tippett or Konecny, or Zegras coming down the weak side. But he opts to go for the highest percentage play, which is the cross ice pass and the tap in for the back door. And Zegras gets his 11th of the season. What a play by Travis Sanheim. Fantastic. Unbelievable pass. Then we pick it up in the second period, tied at 1. At 12:53, Vegas grabs the lead. Now, the thing I hate about this goal is, number one, Flyers are on the PK. Why are they on the PK? A mental error, a self-inflicted wound. Too many men on the ice. That, obviously, is a very preventable penalty. Well, it costs them because on the ensuing power play at 12:53, down around the net, a lot of guys down there. Mark Stone comes in, is able to pound it home through Dan Vladar. Power play goal, Stone's 5th goal of the season, 2-1 now for the Vegas Golden Knights. So we pick it up now later in the second period, and the Flyers, like Vegas, got an unlikely goal from Zach Whitecloud, his first in 55 games. How about the first goal, and I think it was 74 games for Noah Juulsen? What? At 16:08, Juulsen comes to the bench. Flyers are on the forecheck again, doing a good job. Grunstrom's out there. Christian Dvorak is circling, and as he comes up the right wall and starts to migrate high to the middle of the ice, Juulsen recognizes it, and he comes off the bench. He goes right down the left side, down by the dot. And that right shot, he opens up for the one-time opportunity. Dvorak gets him the pass. Puck's actually wobbling a little bit on the pass, too, but Juulsen gets absolutely all of it. Bombs it short side past Akira Schmidt, and that ties the game at 2. That's a highly skilled shot, and Juulsen, by doing that, just tied his career high for goals in a season with 1. He's not a goal scorer. He's played roughly 200 games. He's got 3 goals in his career, but he picks up 1 here, and it ties the game at 2. It's a huge goal. Head to the third period, only 5 shots aside in the third period. Like I said, it was very tight. Each team was doing well defending. When they didn't have a play, they were pumping it deep, forcing the other team to go the full to the ice, playing into their structure. Really disciplined hockey from both teams in the third period. So we head to overtime, where the Flyers have been good in overtime this year. And we know how good they've been in the shootout. But in the overtime, possession for each team a couple of ways, about halfway through at 2:47. Travis Konecny's in his own zone. And this is one of the things I hate about the 3-on-3 overtime. We've talked about it, about, recoiling backwards to regroup, get fresh legs on the ice with the long change, not get caught out there with tired legs on a 3-on-3 because it's all about possession. But as Konecny curls back into his own zone, he kind of just whiffs on a pass. Like the puck, like I think he was intending to pass it off the toe of his blade and just didn't get it, like nipped it. And it ends up on the stick of Jack Eichel, of all people. You don't want it on the stick of Eichel. So Eichel is working along the wall, doing great work like he does, pivoting, shifting with Konecny on him. Emil Andre kind of shading to that side and keeping an eye on the other forward in the zone for the Vegas Golden Knights. And if you look at the camera view, if you look on the Flyers Twitter, you can see it. The camera view from behind Dan Vladar. Mark Stone, when Eichel gets the puck, is all the way back at his own blue line. And Stone doesn't get on his horse and bust it to the net. He's just kind of gliding down the ice, kind of seeing how things develop. And as he glides down the ice, he creeps in and is able to just get past Sean Couturier, who doesn't pick him up, heads to the back door, and Eichel with a perfect pass, pretty much along the goal line. And it's a tap-in for Stone, his second goal of the game, sixth of the season, game winner, game over. Eichel with the assist, his 28th assist of the season, and it's game over. There's not one mistake here. There's 2. on this play. And both players took full ownership of it after the game, Travis Konecny and Sean Couturier. The first mistake is obviously Konecny turning back into his own zone. That's not the mistake. It's the whiff on the pass. It happened at a really inopportune time. It's a horrible turnover, and it cost them, especially when you whiff on the pass and it ends up on the stick of Jack Eichel. So that's a huge mistake. And then Couturier is kind of hanging out high slot, but he just doesn't pick up Stone as Stone. And when I tell you Stone wasn't busting it, Stone just glided past him. Couturier after the game said, "That's on me, 100%. I didn't pick him up. Tie up his stick, get inside positioning to prevent the pass." Those two mistakes cost you a point in the standings, or at least the opportunity at another point in the standings. I don't know that the Flyers would have gone down and scored or won in the shootout had that goal not gone in, but it did go in. And those are costly mistakes. You hope it doesn't haunt the team in the big picture. I mean, Vegas, obviously, good team, but you had a chance to grab a second point. I am not satisfied with the 1 point when I look at how the game ended. It's just a self-inflicted wound with the too many men on the ice for them to take the 2-1 lead on the Stone power play goal, and then what happened in overtime. It's extremely, extremely frustrating. I'm glad the players are holding themselves accountable, but I'm still angry that it happened. Can't have those things happen. Flyers are not a team, even though they're off to a good start, are not a team in a position to make mistakes like that. And that was two very big mistakes that ended up in the back of their net. I mean, just stunning. And what otherwise was a good hockey game. But a good hockey game doesn't mean anything when you have that two self-inflicted wounds of the too many men and they score, and then the mistakes in overtime that cost you the game. I don't feel any sense of satisfaction. Oh, we played Vegas close. I don't give a damn. There was an opportunity to grab a second point there, and mistakes were made, and it prevented that opportunity. So I understand people being frustrated and being angry about how that game ended. It was an entertaining game until that. So I take issue with it. And that's got to be, that's got to be cleaned up. How do you clean it up? You know, a lot of people say, well, TK's got to be benched. And I got this email from a guy on my ride home. I'll read this to you. And I think he's right. This comes from Bill, who's a frequent emailer to Flyers Daily. He said, I've been faithfully following the Flyers from KC via ESPN Plus, so I get the NBC Sports Philadelphia feeds closer to coverage than NHL Network or the national ESPN, so more Flyers focus. But he said, is it just me, or does TK look like he's fighting the puck too often? Mishandles like an OT tonight. I don't think he's lost skill, but is there anything else being closer to the game for me that I've seen on why he's having a hard time handling the puck? When does Talk start to limit his ice time for these troublesome mistakes in crucial moments? It's a good question. And I agree. He has had a hard time with his handle. I said to somebody during the second period that I was talking to and watching the game with, I said, he might want to change sticks because something's going on with his handle. He is mishandling a lot of pucks. Even the other night when he scored 2 goals, he came on post-game and talked to, he was our walk-off interview with Tim Saunders and Todd Fedoruk on the radio, and said, yeah, I scored 2 goals, 500 and 501 points. And he said, I was horrible tonight, though. So there's an accountability there, but he's having a trouble with his handle all of a sudden. Now, he's never had a perfect handle. He's a player that plays with risk and will turn pucks over. And, you know, for the things he's able to do, a lot of times that still makes him positive. But he has had a problem with his handle this season. I don't know, maybe you look at a different stick, a different lie, a different, flex, or whatever you want to do, a different curve, because it has been noticeable to me. Now, as far as when does Talk start to limit his ice time for these mistakes? Well, look, these things go into a coach's memory bank. And when the coach is in a 3-on-3 the next time and he looks down the bench, he goes, okay, who's going out next? You know, is that front of his mind? Maybe not front of his mind, but it's also a consideration that in this most recent game, he had a pretty egregious turnover. Now, I imagine if the game on Saturday goes to overtime, he may go right back to him, showing trust in him to get things moving in the right direction, thinking that's the better tactic to take with Travis Konecny in a situation like this. Very plausible. Same thing with Couturier. Look, Couturier's never been massively built for the 3-on-3, with it being such a possession game and a game with so much open ice where speed can really matter. Although I don't think speed matters as much in 3-on-3 as some may make it out to be. I think it's more ability to win a 50-50 battle and retain possession and be able to defend. You got to be able to defend too in 3-on-3, because if you don't have the puck, you still got to be able to defend the opposition. So those things are important. Obviously, faceoffs are important. He's your best faceoff guy, but I'm sure it's something that Rick Tocchet puts in his memory bank and in his evaluation, and we'll look at things and how he moves forward when next faced with that same exact situation. Just a tough way to lose a game. Tough way. I walked out of the building angry tonight. And what was a very close game and a hard-fought game, I thought it resembled playoff hockey in the second half of the game, with how you had to fight for every inch out there. There was room to breathe and the room to operate. But ultimately, just really costly mistake. And it cost them the opportunity at another point in the standings on this 6-game homestand, which will wrap up coming up Saturday against Carolina. Look, Carolina is no treat to play in a back-to-back and a home-and-home on back-to-back days. It's probably the worst team in the league that you would have to play 2 games in a row against, one at home, one on the road. Why? Because they're the best possession team in the NHL, and we know that when you don't have possession, it's more physically taxing than when you do, and Carolina is the best in the league at it. They average the most shots on goal of any team in the NHL. Not the volume matters, because I think they take a lot of shots that aren't high percentage, and I'm not sure why they do that as such an analytically driven team. But they also give up the least amount of shots. Why? Well, they have a good defensive zone structure, but they also own the puck so much of the game so often, the other team doesn't have the opportunity to get a ton of shots on goal. So that's what the Flyers are facing. They'll wrap up the 6-game homestand Saturday at Xfinity Mobile Arena at 7 o'clock, and then Sunday they'll be in Raleigh to take on Carolina on the road. So not going to get any easier. And this missed opportunity at an extra point with the schedule coming up, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to swallow. So we'll see where they go from here. How they rebound from it's all that matters. What happens on Saturday is what's next. So got to see how this ultimately plays out. A couple of guys that I thought played really well in the game. I thought Vladar, again, very good in the game, made some unbelievable saves. One on Jack Eichel in tight, and then one on Barbashev in tight, basically on the same sequence. With good I was talking to Kevin Weeks, who did the game last night for ESPN, and we were talking about Vladar's lateral mobility and ability to cover the bottom of the net on those types of plays. Like the Eichel one's a low to high right off the stick, and Vladar's able to flash the right pad on that occasion. And on the Barbashev one, he flashes the left pad. And he's been so good in those cross-ice, one-time opportunities low all season long. And Weeksy said something that I hadn't thought of that was really important. He said the hip surgery that Dan Vladar had to fix the hip problem has made all the difference in the world. His burst, moving side to side, coupled with his play reading ability, has elevated his game to a level maybe a lot of people in the NHL circles didn't think he could get to, which is where he's been all season long. He's been the Flyers MVP, no doubt about it. So good performance out of Vladar. I thought Sanheim was good in the game. I thought Emil Andre really fought the puck last night as well. Didn't have a handle, a couple pretty bad turnovers in the first period, a couple in the second. Just one of those games where he was fighting the puck also. I thought in the game that Ty Hutchison acquitted himself well again. He's probably going to go back because Cam York's going to return. He had a huge hit in the first period on a really good angle play on a Vegas rush forward. So a few guys stuck out, played really well, but he only came away with the 1 point when maybe 2 were up for grabs. Frustrating finish. But let's get to our feature conversation with Justin Kolakowski. He's been a goalie pretty much his whole life. The position chose him. He didn't choose it, which often happens with a lot of goaltenders. His hockey journey from playing in Minnesota, giving up 22 goals in his first ever time being a goalie, to being on an NHL bench, signing an amateur tryout contract with the San Jose Sharks, getting the rookie lap. Who was responsible for making sure he got that rookie lap? You'll find out that and much more in our feature conversation with Justin Kolakowski. All right, it is Flyers Daily, and we have a very special guest. He's been in the headlines lately, and there are goaltending union members, myself included, that are incredibly jealous of the experience he just had. It is Justin Kolakowski, who is a Flyers EBUG, been for the last decade, but he was also signed to an amateur tryout contract and was on the bench for the San Jose Sharks game this past week. Justin, what is going on? Are you still floating?
I'm definitely floating. Haven't gotten any work done today, I'll tell you that much. My phone's been blowing up for the last basically 12, 16 hours. It was the experience. I mean, I've been doing this e-bug thing for a long time with the Flyers. And it was always I stuck with it for this long, waiting for something like this to happen, and it finally did, which was just amazing. Getting on the ice, actually stepping foot on the ice with fans in the stands, albeit just warm-ups, was pretty awesome.
It's unbelievable. First, take us back. You played your entire life. You grew up in the Minnesota area?
So I grew up in the suburbs, distant suburbs of Minneapolis. Yeah, yep.
So when did you first start playing net? Did you play forward first, or did you go right to the
Uh,
crease?
I started out playing forward, and this is it's a good story. I like this story. I was one of the better forwards. I was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, and it was at the age where the team was rotating goalies. So
Yep.
we didn't have a permanent goalie, and I told the coach, I was like, I want to try out playing goalie. But because I was one of the best forwards, he didn't really want me to play goalie. So he said, you're going to have to check with your dad, make sure that he's okay with it. So I went and I told my dad. My dad was like, yeah, if you want to try it, go for it. Let's do this. So I got in the net, played my first game ever. It was actually what is now the Minnesota Wild. Well, back then, when they started, it was their practice rink. That was where I played my first game as a goalie, many years ago. And I gave up, I think it was 22 goals. So
Holy.
not my best outing, I could to say the least. But I got off the ice. My dad loves telling the story. I got off the ice with a grin ear to ear, saying how awesome that was. And I think at that point he knew I was lost in terms of playing forward versus goalie.
It got the hooks in you right away, despite did you give anything up outside the red line?
No, I don't think so. I think everything
Okay.
was pretty in tight. We didn't have the best defensive structure at that age, I don't think, and so
Not at night, moth to a
yeah,
flame.
yeah, exactly.
So was it then on that you locked into the position?
It probably took another season, I think. So that season, I think I kept playing forward and rotating in, and then I think the following season, I picked up goalie full time and stuck with it. And from then on out, I was a goalie.
So is that when you started taking the position serious and saying, okay, like this is how I want to play this game of hockey from this vantage point, being the last line of defense. Like it takes a special mentality to take on the position that you and I play, because it's so consequential. But when did you start taking it serious? Because you played at a high level.
It did, yeah, and I would say I took it seriously at a very young age. I think I went all in. I was the type of I loved hockey from the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah.
Got on the ice. I've just had a love of the game. I went all in pretty quickly. My parents were always like, "Do you want to play baseball? Do you want to do basketball? Whatever else." No, it was hockey all day, every day. That's what I wanted to do, and it very quickly turned into my lifelong dream to make it where I did last night. Obviously playing in the NHL would have been a different thing, but yeah. So I got serious about it very quickly. It was a year-round thing for me. Being from Minnesota, that's not atypical if you're really into hockey.
Yep.
But yeah, I was playing, association hockey in the winter, and then summertime I was playing on 3-4 teams, traveling all
Goalie
over the
camps, the whole thing.
goal. Didn't do a lot of goalie camps actually. I did a lot of I did a lot of just practice with like just working on it myself and with goalie coaches that were on
Yep.
coaches on the team. And frankly, a lot of self-taught skill, I would say, where I watched NHLers back then that I was a huge fan of and tried to mimic how they played the game, and that's what I did. So yeah, did a couple of camps. The one big camp I do remember doing was Vladislav Tretiak. He did camps way back when, and he did them in
Not bad.
Minnesota. Yeah,
Yeah.
did one of his camps back. That's probably in the '90s. But so I did a couple of those, but mostly it was just playing. I played all the time. That's what I did, and would do tournaments all over North America. Basically, from the age of, I mean, at 9 years old, I was traveling to Vancouver for a hockey tournament.
Yeah.
And from nine until I graduated from high school, that was my summers were all over North America, coast to coast.
So you never went to Cap Raiders goalie school?
I did not. No, haven't even heard of it actually.
Oh, Cap used to have a great goalie school that I went to on one occasion, and yeah, I would go to just regular hockey camps, and you'd have special goalie sessions, whether that was at Providence College where I went a couple of years, and then I went to Phillips Exeter Academy's hockey school, which was a great one. Ended up working there a little bit as well as a counselor, but they were fantastic in this. I was the same way. I didn't once the hooks got into me. I there was nothing else that could satisfy me in a weird way because there was no pressure like the pressure that came with it, and I hated leaving the field of play in any other sport. And we don't leave the field of play when we play goalies, and we're presumably the starter. When did you realize you were pretty damn good at it?
Honestly, probably pretty quickly. After that first game where I gave up 22 goals, I think my stats improved dramatically from then on out. The Youth Hockey Association where I played growing up was the reputation was that they weren't very good. So the team, we would get beat up on a lot, and I think that benefited me because I saw a lot of action. I mean, I was facing more shots than anyone else, any other goalies in the league.
60 baggers, right?
Yeah, and we didn't, early on we didn't win a lot of games, but I saw a lot of shots, got a lot of practice in myself. So that's through like squirts, peewees. And then by the time we got to Bantams, we actually we went from bottom feeders and it was a group of guys that we played. There was a core group of us that played every year together, basically through youth hockey.
Same age. You just level up together.
Exactly. Yep. And by the time we got to Bantams, we actually ended up winning a state championship. It wasn't the regular state championship; it was the VFW state championship. But it was a big deal. It was like the second state championship that they did for youth hockey in Minnesota back then. So we made it a long way, coming from an association that was known as being the bottom feeders, and we ended up going making it that far. So that was a lot of fun.
You get a little bit of success. You're playing at a high level. When you got done playing youth hockey and rec hockey, and it was time to decide what the next steps were, what were your options? I know you went to Colgate, you played there, but did you have other options as well that you considered? I mean, high school hockey in Minnesota,
I did.
Absurd.
What's that?
High school hockey in Minnesota is absurdly good.
Yeah.
So what were your options?
So my journey there actually started with high school hockey because believe it or not, I grew up in a community that didn't have a hockey team. There was no hockey program. So my home games were 30 minutes away, which is rare in Minnesota because there are so many communities that have hockey programs. But yeah, I grew up in a very rural part of the Twin City metro area, pretty far out there. So I was commuting from for home games and even farther for away games, obviously. So when it came time for high school, I didn't have my high school, my public school that I went to didn't have a hockey program. So I needed to either open enroll or go to a private school. So I had to look into different programs, and I ended up going to a private school in Minneapolis. So I was driving 40 miles each way to go to high school, and then also
the Blake school,
also play hockey. The Blake school, yeah.
You played there. You had a .921 save percentage and a .151 GAA. Not bad record of 22-3-1. I'd say you had some success.
We were very good my senior year. I played there for 3 years. My senior year, I think we had 5 or 6 Division I hockey players on the team.
Wow.
Four of which were in my actually we probably had 6 or 7. Four of which were in my graduating class. So we had I went to Colgate. We had 2 guys that went to Yale and another guy that went to Dartmouth. All Division I programs, and then some younger guys that went to Division I programs as well that weren't in my grade. And our number one rival was Breck, and the number one player on that team back then was Blake Wheeler, which I'm sure a lot of people know that name.
He didn't turn out so bad. It's funny because when you go from your rec leagues and then you play on a very top level team. I remember being in practice when I first started playing for a team called Mid-Atlantic Dynamo. We consider tier 1 now. We had about 5 or 6 guys that ended up playing, Division I. The Ferraro twins who played at Maine with Paul Correa were on my team. And we had a bunch of guys that ended up playing. Ryan Mulhern, who's a local guy who ended up playing in the NHL a little bit and went to Brown. And I remember being in practice, and it went from, having a couple of guys on your team that could really bomb it to every guy in warm-up being able to wire it. And it was like, this is way more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you finish at Colgate and you go where everybody goes, beer league.
Yeah.
And how did you get the gig as the EBUG?
So my best friend at Colgate was my goalie partner for 4 years. He played 10 years professionally. I was his backup, so I had a lot of skills as a backup goalie for last night. But he played with me for 4 years at Colgate. Still keep in touch to this day. We were in each other's weddings, so very, very close with each other. I think it was his last 2 years, he played for the Reading Royals, who are in the Flyers organization.
East Coast League,
and that's actually how I got hooked up. It was actually through the Royals, because I did a couple of EBUG stints with the Royals back then when he was on the team. So we were actually teammates for a couple of nights back then. And then through that connection with the Royals, I ended up getting hooked up with the Flyers.
So is that a tryout that you had to do?
Didn't have to do a tryout, actually. Not a formal one, at least. I know back then, before I started doing the EBUG thing for the Flyers the first time, I think it was a captain's practice. This was probably 10 years ago now. So it was like Drew was running the practice with Voracek and all those guys back then.
Early September, when the guys go out for a skate and they need somebody to
exactly. And it was, I think Brian Elliott was on the team, and he was I think he was being inducted to the Hall of Fame at, forget where he went to school. It was his Wisconsin. Yeah, his alma mater. So he was out of town, so they needed a goalie. So they called me up. This is, again, before I started doing the EBUG thing. So I went and skated with the team in captain's practice. I remember my claim to fame there was stopping Drew on a breakaway. I did do that, believe it or not. So that was a lot of fun. And so I kind of consider that my pseudo tryout. I have no idea if anyone was actually watching, paying attention, but they got to see me out there then, and then I started doing the EBUG duty that season.
What's it like all of a sudden going to NHL shots, and the creativity they play with, how fast plays develop?
It's so fast. So fun story. I actually got a phone call this morning from one of my college teammates who played in the NHL for a number of years, Jesse Winchester. He and I was talking to him. He's first of all, the nicest guy. He was so excited for me. But I was talking to him about how fast the plays develop in the NHL, and obviously he lived it because he played in the NHL. But every decision, every action on the ice is instant. Like there's no margin for error.
The breakout, you got to be dialed in when they're breaking out.
100%. And any mistake is so magnified because of, you're making these decisions in a split second. And, when you have replay and you look at it in slow motion, you don't realize how fast these decisions are really being made. And even on video, like you're watching on video, it doesn't do it justice. When you're sitting on the bench and you're right there with it, the guys are moving a million miles an hour. It's awesome to watch. And again, I'll use Winch as the example. He was the number one NHLer that came out of my 4 years at Colgate. He was in my class. And to think of having 20 of him on the same team is crazy. You know, like
Yeah.
that's what NHL teams are, right? And he was frankly a third, fourth liner in the NHL, and so he wasn't even top tier. But to think, coming from Colgate, where we had one or two, handful of those guys on the team, and in the NHL, it's every single player that can bring that skill. It's intimidating.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt.
um,
Looking at his DB, played at Colgate with you, then for the Ottawa Senators, played a little bit for the Panthers as well.
yeah,
When there's a whole group of those guys that can just do anything they want with the puck, it's disgusting. Take us
yes.
through when you got notified that you would be needed. From what I understand, it happened in the morning. Skarov was not available. Nedeljkovic was. Who makes that phone call to you? What's that call like?
So I actually just got a text message from the Flyers, basically
Barry?
saying, no, it was actually Tom. Tom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so Tom reached out to me, let me know that he actually just said the one of the goalies was down for the Sharks in morning skate, so they may need you tonight. And I was like, all right, thanks for the heads up, but really I'm thinking to myself, it's the NHL. They've got 9 hours until the game. They can fly someone in, or he's not actually going to be that sick. So I tried to really temper my expectations because I didn't want to get too excited and then have it turn into nothing. So I didn't. Plus I was at work, so I had to go through my normal day job routine. And so I had a lot of meetings yesterday at work. Kind of put it to the back of my mind. Didn't really think about it at all. But because I knew I was going to the Flyers game in general last night, I left work a little bit early to go home, have dinner with my family, and then get to the rink. And I was actually driving home. I was on a work call while I was driving home, and I got a phone call from the Sharks, and it was them saying they needed me. So I immediately hung up my work call, started making phone calls to let everyone know, tune into the game tonight, and then got home, hightailed it to the rink, got to the rink around I think it was like 5:15, got to the rink. But that phone call from the Sharks came in around 4:15, so it wasn't until about 4:15 that I knew I was actually that it was happening. And even then, I didn't really know, like, what did it mean that it was happening? Was was it just I needed to be there to be suited up, or was I actually going to be, doing warm ups, sitting in the locker room, doing the whole thing? I didn't. I again was sort of trying to temper my expectations, and hoping that I was going to get the full experience, but not understanding that I've suited up before. And it's
Yep.
just, a side room. I don't, I'm not really part of the team. I don't go out for warm ups, whatever it may be. So it wasn't until I got to the rink and I asked, what's happening tonight? And they filled
Yeah.
me in. So
You go through your pregame routine of dialing the eyes and the hands and getting the right stretching and all the things that you normally do.
uh, what I normally did, I will say, I don't do it for men's league these
Yeah.
days. Men's league warm up is show up, put your gear on, get on the ice.
Yeah.
So I had a little more time to warm up, stretch out. It's the most stretching I've done for hockey in probably 15 years.
Yeah.
So I was nice and loose for warmups, which was great. Didn't want to pull anything before I even get out there, So
Make sure the
um,
skate guards are off when you go step on the ice.
exactly. Well, when I went out for the rookie lap, I said, what happens if I fall? And they said $500 fine. I was like, I don't know if I can afford that, guys. But I'm just kidding. They said one of the guys would cover it for me if I fell. So, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
So how do you find out you're getting the rookie lap?
Uh, we were 3 minutes, not even. I think we were a minute from going on the ice. I got all my stuff on. I go out in the hallway, waiting with the whole team. I'm standing in the back because I'm like, I don't want to get in anyone's way.
Yeah.
Just let them do their own thing. And then I hear from the front. I hear. I think it was Ryan Reeves at the front of the line saying, "Hey, get up here."
Yeah.
I'm like not sure he's talking to me. I'm like, you talking to me? He's like, yeah, get up here. I was like, all right. So I walked to the front. He's like, you're going out first. I was like, all right, let's do this.
Holy
And
wow. Good on
yeah,
Revo, man.
yeah. So he put me out there, and then I'm standing there. I'm kind of deer in the headlights, not knowing what to do or when to go out. And then they're like, "All right, time to go." Like now? He's like, "Yeah." I was like, I had no idea how much time was on the clock. I didn't know how much, how long my rookie lap was going to be. I listened and I went. And I just jumped on the ice and prayed I didn't make a fool of myself.
Yeah, you've jumped on the ice 1,000 times between practices and games, but that one's more stressful, no
Oh,
doubt.
big time, big time. The butterflies are going, the adrenaline's going. Yeah, I'm already sweating. I'm not even on the ice. I'm already sweating just for warmups.
Yeah, just hoping, please, adrenaline don't wear off now.
Yeah.
What's it like taking warm-ups, taking shots?
uh, it was exhilarating to say the least. It was a lot of fun.
They fill in your
I
glove
talked to
for you?
what's that?
They fill in the glove for you?
I think I caught one puck. That was it. But no, but before we went out there, I was talking to Nedeljkovic, just asking him like, what do you need me to do? I'll just be in wait in the wings or whatever. And so he gave me the rundown on how warm ups would work. So I had a general idea. Of course, I'm sitting on the ice. I'm like, I've been to 200 Flyers games in the last 10 years, and I haven't been paying close enough attention on how warmups work.
Yeah.
To
Where
be
to
in
be
this
in the corner
situation.
for when he jumps out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't want to be embarrass myself by getting in the way too much. So, but I think I pulled it off. So I had an idea of what was going to go on for warmups. So I was waiting for my chance to get in the net. And then I get in there. I think the first one rips it off the post. I'm pretty sure it went in, but I wasn't looking. And I immediately I was like, yeah, they're using me as the scoring goalie in warmups because I'm not playing in the game. If you're
Confidence
playing in the
builder.
game, they give you some softballs off the pads. For me,
Yep.
it was nope. I'm hitting top corner, and I'm working on my shots. So that was fun. But I made a couple of saves. It was good. Yeah, just trying to pretend like I belong.
Yeah. Well,
Like
you
I've
did.
been
You
there
did a great
before.
job. And what's it like in the room throughout the game? What's it like on the bench? I know you're working the door a little bit. What's it like in the room, hearing the coach's message to the team, all that stuff? I mean, you've been in 1,000 locker room. You've seen coaches undress a team,
Yeah,
build a
yeah.
team up. We got to do this. We got to do that. How cool was that element being behind the curtain?
It was very cool. Honestly, it brought me back to my days at Colgate. And the last time I played competitive hockey at a fairly high level, very similar tone in the locker room.
Yeah,
A
hockey's
lot
hockey.
of hockey's hockey, exactly. So it was just it was fun to relive that in an NHL environment, experience it. I mean, I truly got the full experience sitting in the locker room. I'm right next to Alex Nedeljkovic. Sitting there, the rest of the team is in the room with. I'm right there with them. And yeah, just getting to see how they conduct business. Very, frankly, before the game, kind of casual. Everyone's just sort of, getting loose and trying to get ready for the game. And then, as the game wears on, obviously the Sharks ended up losing the game. They were, I think, tied after one, trailing after two, and then obviously lost it at the end. And after the first period, it's typical, like let's get out there and let's get after it. And then after the second period, when they're trailing, it's a little more serious. Like, we got this. Let's get out there and let's do a little bit better. Because I think they were also getting outshot by a pretty wide margin at that point too. But it was fun to see all of that and experience it firsthand, and really see how an NHL team conducts business. I was talking to Winch this morning and telling him, after the game ends, the doors are closed. There's no coaches. It's just players. And I'm in there with the team, seeing how they are, reacting to just losing an NHL hockey game. Exactly. So it's a very cool, you don't experience that unless you're a player, frankly. Not even the coaches are in there experiencing that.
Yeah.
So
it's a very sanctuary place. It's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like holy ground for players, and you're behind that curtain. It's just awesome. I imagine they sent you home with some nice gifts, including the jersey.
Didn't get the jersey, unfortunately. I think they're
No?
on a road trip. Yeah, so they took it along probably in case they need it again in the next game or whatever. But I'll hopefully get one at some point. I'm gonna have to get one, even if I have to just pick one up off NHL.com or something, because I think I'll be on the roster for the Sharks the rest of the season to do that. But no jersey, but I got the hat, got the sweatshirt, got some Under Armour, got some shorts.
Good
Alex
swag.
Nedeljkovic signed a stick for me, which is super awesome. He's a super nice guy. It was really great, talking with him during the game throughout.
By the way, I love his stick. By the way, he's got the true stick and the lettering on it's like changes colors. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. So I got one of those. It's actually in my basement. I'll send you a picture later so you can see it. But yeah, so I got that autographed. Super cool. got the game puck, and got the official carbon copy of the score sheet. So it is the score sheet from the game with my name on it. So that's very cool.
Well, you're gonna have to get to a framer and get
Yeah.
this stuff all proudly displayed, man. I'm so happy for you. I've known you a long time. You and I would sub for beer league, and you won a championship actually when I was out injured with a concussion one time for my Kings team. You brought it home, which was awesome. And I got a lot of texts from the guys from the team last night, Rich and everybody that runs the Kings beer league team. They were thrilled for you. So
yeah, Rich actually texted me too. So I heard from him last night.
Awesome, man. That is great. As a memory you'll never forget, man. I'm happy as hell for you. I hope it happens again, and I hope you get in there, make a couple of good saves in the NHL as well. Justin, thanks for doing this, man. Awesome story, and I love it, man. The goaltending union is very proud of you today. So
awesome.
Great stuff.
Thank you very much.
Job.
Appreciate it.
Great stuff from Justin. Him taking the time. He was still floating from the experience when we taped that interview. So I appreciating him joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed that as well. Give you a little insight to the EBUG thing in the NHL. I've gotten tons of questions about it over the years, but really cool stuff. And the goalie union's very happy that he was able to get in there for a game and see it all. And, you look on his hockey DB and it now says 24-25 San Jose Sharks. Like he was in an NHL game. He didn't play, but he was rostered in an NHL game. Dream come true. Awesome stuff. Everybody have a great weekend. Bill Meltzer will be with us Monday. We'll look at the Carolina back-to-back and much more, the week that was, the week that's coming. And we'll do that with Bill coming up on a Monday with Meltzer episode then. Join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.